Lieutenant Nina Parker adjusted the targeting scopes on her station aboard the U.S. Maverick. Earth's orbital defense platform wasn't supposed to be necessary, just a precaution. Her 6-hour shift had been quiet, like all the others before it. Sometimes she wondered if anyone would ever actually attack Earth. "Anything on scans?" asked Commander Ben Harris, passing behind her station with a fresh cup of coffee. "Nothing unusual, sir. Just the regular satellite traffic and some space debris." Nina suppressed a yawn. The midnight shift was always the hardest. What neither of them knew was that something was approaching, something their systems couldn't detect. The Vrikian scout fleet moved silently through the outer reaches of the solar system. 5 ships, each nearly a mile long but almost invisible against the darkness of space. Their hulls absorbed radar and light, making them ghosts to Earth's primitive detection systems. Commander Zareth stood on the bridge of the lead vessel, studying the holographic display of the blue-green planet ahead. His tall, slender form cast a long shadow across the command deck. 4 eyes blinked independently as he processed the information. "Final approach analysis complete," reported Science Officer Tevlok. "Planet shows abundant water, oxygen-nitrogen atmosphere, and rich mineral deposits. Bioscan confirms simple life forms, only plant species and non-sentient animals." Zareth nodded, his gray skin reflecting the soft blue light of the bridge controls. "Excellent. The High Council will be pleased. This system appeared promising in our long-range surveys. Unusual that it remained undiscovered for so long," Tevlok observed. "It's relatively close to established trade routes. The radiation from its star creates interference with standard sensors," Zareth replied. "Only our new scanning technology could detect its potential. That's why we're here first." He smiled, revealing rows of small, sharp teeth, "and why the mining rights will belong to the Vrikian hegemony alone." The 5 ships formed a perfect pentagonal formation as they passed the red planet on their approach. Their engines made no visible light, operating on principles Earth scientists had not yet discovered. "Maintain stealth protocols," Zareth ordered. "We'll establish full orbital surveillance for 14 cycles before sending ground teams." Lieutenant Nevera, the communications specialist, adjusted her headset. "All channels clear, Commander. No artificial signals detected." Back on Earth, Jack Reynolds aimed his telescope at the night sky. The amateur astronomer had built a sophisticated observatory in his backyard, much to his wife Laura's amusement. "Still looking for aliens?" she asked, bringing him a sandwich. Jack laughed. "Someone has to. The government gave up years ago." He wasn't entirely joking. Before becoming a high school science teacher, Jack had worked for a classified program analyzing potential extraterrestrial signals. Budget cuts had shut it down, but Jack had kept up his personal search. As he adjusted his telescope, something unusual caught his eye. A momentary distortion against the stars, like heat waves on a summer day. "That's strange," he muttered, checking his equipment. In orbit, the Vrikian ships positioned themselves strategically around Earth. Their mission was simple: confirm the absence of intelligent life and begin mapping resources for extraction. "Deploy scanning drones," Zareth commanded. "I want detailed geological surveys of all major landmasses." Lieutenant Nevera suddenly straightened at her station. "Commander, I'm detecting something unusual." "Explain." Zareth moved to her console. "Artificial signals, sir. Very faint, but definitely not natural." Her 4-fingered hand adjusted controls. "Radio waves, modulated in patterns, coming from the planet's surface." The command center fell silent. "That's impossible," Zareth whispered. "Our scans showed no technology." The speakers crackled to life as Mevra amplified the signal. Through static and interference, a human voice spoke words that would change 2 civilizations forever. "This is Captain Alan Frost of the U.S. Defiance. We've lost propulsion and life support is failing. If anyone can hear this, we need immediate assistance." Commander Zareth stared at the communications array, his 4 eyes blinking rapidly in succession. This changed everything. A distress call meant intelligent life. A civilization advanced enough for space travel. The mining operation was now impossible. "Triangulate that signal," he ordered. "I want to know exactly where it's coming from." Lieutenant Mever's fingers flew across her console. "The transmission originates from low orbit around the planet. A small vessel, barely visible on our scans." The command center of the Vrikian flagship hummed with urgent activity as crew members adjusted their plans. What had been a simple resource expedition was now a first contact scenario, something none of them were prepared for. "Should we respond?" asked Tevlok, the science officer. Zareth hesitated. Vrikian protocol was clear: no contact with undiscovered species without approval from the High Council. But ignoring a distress call violated their most sacred ethical codes. "Continue monitoring," he decided. "I need more information before we act." On Earth, Jack Reynolds frantically recorded the strange distortions he'd observed through his telescope. 20 years studying the stars had trained his eye to notice patterns others missed. These weren't random anomalies. They were moving with purpose. His phone rang, startling him. "Jack? It's Frank Miller at the observatory. Are you seeing this?" 5 objects, maintaining geometric formation. Jack asked. "Yes. What the hell are they?" "They're not showing up on standard tracking systems." Jack's pulse quickened. "I think we have visitors." "Frank." Meanwhile, aboard the U.S. Defiance, Captain Alan Frost fought to keep his crew alive. The small research vessel had suffered catastrophic engine failure during a routine mission to service satellites. Oxygen levels at 30%. Lieutenant Olivia Clark reported, her voice steady despite the dire situation. Frost nodded grimly. "Keep broadcasting the distress signal." "Sir," said Communications Officer Daniel Wright, "Houston isn't responding. Something's jamming our primary frequencies." "Switch to all available channels," Frost ordered. "Someone must hear us." Unknown to the stranded crew, their desperate message had reached listeners far beyond Earth's space agencies. At North American Aerospace Defense Command, Major Sophia Wilson received an urgent call that pulled her from a briefing. "Ma'am, our deep space monitoring station is picking up anomalous readings. 5 objects in high orbit, not matching any known satellite patterns." Wilson's expression remained calm despite her racing heart. "Are they responding to identification requests?" "No, Mom. And here's the strange part. They're practically invisible to our radar. We only detected them because they briefly crossed in front of the moon." "Alert the Joint Chiefs," Wilson ordered, "and get me all available data on the Defiance. Their last transmission mentioned system failures." Back on the Vrikian command ship, Zareth made his decision. "Prepare a rescue team. Minimal contact protocols." "Commander," Tevlok protested, "this violates hegemony directives." Zareth turned to his science officer. "We came here believing this world was uninhabited. That assumption was wrong. Now there are lives at stake. Would you have me ignore them?" The rescue vessel detached from the flagship, a smaller craft designed for atmospheric entry. Inside, a team of Vrikian specialists prepared for humanity's first alien encounter. On the Defiance, the crew had gathered on the bridge, conserving the remaining oxygen. Through the viewport, they watched Earth slowly rotate below them, perhaps for the last time. "Look!" Engineer Paul Garcia suddenly pointed at something outside. "That's not one of ours." A strange light approached their vessel, something that moved unlike any spacecraft they had ever seen, its surface rippling like liquid metal under the sun's rays. Captain Frost straightened his uniform. "It seems we're about to make history, one way or another. Prepare for possible first contact." As the alien vessel extended a docking mechanism toward the Defiance, humanity stood at the threshold of a new era. The docking tube connected with a soft thud against the Defiance's airlock. Captain Frost and Lieutenant Clark stood ready, armed with only a handheld scanner and humanity's first carefully prepared greeting. "Life support down to 15%. Engineer Garcia reported from his station. Whatever happens, it needs to happen fast. Frost nodded grimly. Open the outer airlock door. The heavy metal door slid aside with a hydraulic hiss. Through the small window in the inner door, the crew could see the alien connection tube pulse with soft blue light. Then something moved inside it. "My God," whispered Communications Officer Wright. The being that appeared at the airlock entrance walked upright on two legs, but their all similarity to humans ended. Tall and slender, with gray-blue skin and 4 independently blinking eyes, it wore what appeared to be a form-fitting uniform with symbols across the chest. Behind it stood 2 similar beings carrying equipment. Captain Frost took a deep breath and opened the inner airlock door. "I am Captain Alan Frost of Earth," he said clearly, raising empty hands to show he carried no weapons. "Thank you for responding to our distress call." The lead alien touched its chest and spoke, its voice a melodious series of clicks and humming sounds. A small device on its wrist glowed, then produced halting English. "I am Medical Officer Jevnar of the Freakian science vessel Telsic. We offer assistance." Back on Earth, the situation was rapidly escalating. In Washington, D.C., President Nicholas Carter had been awakened at 3 a.m. for an emergency briefing. "Mr. President," General Kate Martinez explained, "we have confirmed the presence of 5 unknown vessels in Earth orbit. They're using technology that renders them nearly invisible to our detection systems." "Hostile actions?" the President asked. "None so far, but we've lost contact with the research vessel Defiance. Their last position puts them near where we detected one of the alien craft." The President's face remained calm, though his mind raced. Decades of protocols for this exact scenario were now being implemented, but the reality was more overwhelming than any simulation. "What are our options?" he asked. "Limited, sir," replied Secretary of Defense Vincent Cooper. "We could attempt communication or deploy interceptors, but their technology appears far beyond ours." The President stared at the satellite images. If they wanted to attack, they could have done so already. "Let's not start an interstellar war on my watch. Attempt communication on all frequencies." Meanwhile, Jack Reynolds had barely slept. His backyard observatory had become the center of an impromptu gathering of fellow amateur astronomers from around the county. "The formation change," Frank Miller pointed out, studying the live feed from Jack's enhanced telescope. "One of them moved toward this orbital position here. That's where the Defiance should be," Jack realized. He had friends in NASA who had kept him informed about the research vessel's mission. They might be making contact, or they might be attacking, someone suggested nervously. Jack shook his head. Advanced enough for perfect stealth technology, but attacking a small research vessel doesn't make tactical sense. His phone rang. A blocked number. Jack answered cautiously. "Mr. Reynolds, this is Major Wilson, North American Aerospace Defense Command. We understand you've been tracking certain anomalies in orbit." Jack's heart raced. "Yes, 5 objects in geometric formation. One has broken formation in the last hour. We need your data, Mr. Reynolds, and your expertise. A car will arrive at your location in 20 minutes. Aboard the Defiance, the alien medical team worked with astonishing efficiency. Their equipment, unlike anything humans had created, quickly repaired the ship's life support and stabilized the atmosphere. Your propulsion system requires more extensive repairs, Medical Officer Jevnar explained through the translator. Our engineers are ready to assist. Captain Frost nodded gratefully. May I ask why you're helping us? The Vrekian's 4 eyes blinked in sequence. Among the stars, all who travel share common dangers. We would never ignore a distress call. It is, how do you say, the right thing to do. Commander Zareth paced the bridge of his flagship, hands clasped behind his back. The rescue mission had turned into something much more significant. First contact with an unknown species wasn't something any captain was prepared to handle without guidance. The High Council must be informed immediately, Tevlok insisted. Protocol demands it. The nearest communication relay is 3 light cycles away. Zareth replied. "By the time we receive instructions, these humans could be dead. We cannot wait." A holographic display showed the repair operation underway. Vrikian engineers worked alongside the human crew, their different physiologies creating an odd but functional team. The humans appeared remarkably adaptable, quickly learning to use unfamiliar tools despite never having seen alien technology before. "They seem resourceful," Zareth observed, "and potentially dangerous," Tevlok added. "Their vessel contains primitive weapon systems." "Defensive only," Mevra countered. "Their technology suggests they're barely capable of interplanetary travel, let alone interstellar warfare." Zareth studied the images thoughtfully. "Continue monitoring all frequencies. I want to know exactly what level of civilization we're dealing with." On Earth, Jack Reynolds found himself inside a military helicopter racing toward a secure facility. Beside him sat Major Wilson, reviewing his data on a tablet. "These readings are incredible," she said. "You picked up their engine signatures when our best systems couldn't detect them at all." Jack nodded. "The distortion pattern is unlike anything I've ever seen. It's as if they're bending light around their hulls." "Mr. Reynolds, I'll be direct. Our government has suspected extraterrestrial visitation for decades, but this is the first confirmed contact. Your background in signals intelligence and astronomy makes you uniquely qualified to help us." The helicopter landed on a pad outside a nondescript building. Inside, Jack was surprised to find not military personnel but scientists and linguists gathered around monitoring equipment. "Welcome to First Contact Protocol Headquarters," Major Wilson explained. "Established 60 years ago, but never activated until today." Dr. Susan Grant, the lead scientist, approached Jack with an outstretched hand. "Mr. Reynolds, your data confirmed what our deep space array in Arizona detected. The aliens are communicating with the Defiance crew." "Have they made any aggressive moves?" Jack asked. "Quite the opposite," Dr. Grant replied, gesturing to a screen showing thermal imagery. "They appear to be repairing the Defiance. Captain Frost has established basic communication." Meanwhile, in the White House Situation Room, President Carter received updates from his national security team. Maps and satellite imagery covered the walls, tracking the alien vessels' positions. "They call themselves Vrikians," National Security Advisor Ellen Harris reported. According to Captain Frost's transmission, they believed Earth was uninhabited until they picked up the distress call. "Uninhabited?" Secretary Cooper frowned. "How is that possible with our cities, satellites, and radio transmissions?" General Martinez leaned forward. "Apparently their scanning technology focuses on specific energy signatures. Our level of development didn't register on their equipment as intelligent life. Like explorers with advanced tools still missing a native village," the president mused. "What do they want?" "Resources, originally," Harris answered. "But now they're offering technological exchange instead." Captain Frost reports they seem genuinely embarrassed about the intrusion. President Carter nodded slowly. "Prepare our response team. I want our best minds ready when the Defiance returns. If these Vrikians want to talk, we'll talk. But let's keep our defensive systems on high alert, just in case." Aboard the Defiance, Captain Frost watched in amazement as the alien engineers completed repairs that would have taken an Earth team weeks. "Your vessel will be fully operational within 6 of your hours," Medical Officer Jevnar explained. "We can't thank you enough," Frost replied. "But I have to ask, what happens next?" The Vrikian's translator processed the question before responding. "First contact protocols. Our commander requests permission to establish formal diplomatic relations with your world leaders." Frost smiled. "I think that can be arranged." The U.S. Defiance approached Earth with an unusual escort. The sleek Vrikian vessel glided alongside, visible now to Earth's tracking systems only because they chose to be seen. News of the alien contact had spread quickly across the planet, causing equal measures of excitement and fear. Captain Frost sat in his command chair, still processing everything that had happened. In 24 hours, he had gone from facing certain death to becoming humanity's first official ambassador to an alien species. "Houston is requesting continuous updates," Lieutenant Clark reported. "They're tracking our approach." "Tell them all systems are functioning perfectly," Frost replied. "Thanks to our new friends." Medical Officer Jevnar stood nearby, studying Earth through the viewscreen. The translator at his wrist converted his words. "Your world is beautiful, much like our home planet, Vrakia. You'll see it up close soon," Frost said. "Our government has arranged a landing site. At Andrews Air Force Base outside Washington, D.C., preparations were underway for the historic landing. A circular area had been cleared, surrounded by a mixture of scientific equipment, medical teams, and discreet but heavy security. Major Wilson supervised the final arrangements, communicating through her headset with various departments. "The diplomatic team is in position. Landing zone is clear. Medical containment protocols are ready but not visibly deployed." Jack Reynolds stood among the scientists, still amazed he had been included. His expertise in tracking the Vrikian ships had earned him a place on the Welcome Committee. He adjusted the specialized equipment he had helped design to monitor the alien vessel's approach. "They're beginning descent," he announced, watching his screens. "Their propulsion system is like nothing I've ever seen. No heat signature, no radiation." Dr. Grant nodded. "Probably gravitic manipulation. We've theorized it but never achieved it." The gathered crowd fell silent as a shimmering distortion appeared in the sky. The Vrikian ship became fully visible as it descended, its metallic surface rippling like water under sunlight. It was smaller than expected, about the size of a commercial airliner, with an elegant curved design that seemed almost organic. Beside it, the Defiance looked clunky and primitive by comparison. Both vessels touched down gently on the tarmac. Secret Service agents moved closer to the temporary platform, where President Carter waited with his advisors. Despite security concerns, he had insisted on being present for this historic moment. "Remember," the president told the assembled officials, "today we represent not just America, but all of humanity." The Defiance's hatch opened first. Captain Frost emerged with his crew, all looking remarkably healthy despite their ordeal. They stood at attention as the Vrikian ship's entry portal dilated open. Commander Zareth stepped onto Earth soil first, followed by Medical Officer Jevnar and 2 other Vrikians. They wore no protective gear, having determined Earth's atmosphere was compatible with their physiology. Silence fell across the airfield as the aliens approached the human delegation. Television cameras broadcast the scene worldwide, capturing humanity's first official alien encounter. President Carter stepped forward. "On behalf of the people of Earth, I welcome you to our world. We extend our deepest gratitude for saving the crew of the Defiance." Zareth's translator converted his reply. "We come in peace and with apology. Our mission was scientific exploration. We did not detect your civilization until we heard your distress call." "A fortunate mistake," the president responded with a smile. "One that may benefit both our peoples." Jack Reynolds watched the exchange with wonder. The silence of space had been broken by a whisper for help, and now everything would change. Humanity was not alone. In orbit, the remaining Vrikian ships maintained their position, now clearly visible on Earth's tracking systems. Their presence was both a marvel and a reminder. The universe was larger and more populated than humans had ever imagined, and it had just become much smaller. The first week of negotiations between humans and Vrikians took place at a specially prepared facility in Geneva, Switzerland. The location had been chosen for its neutrality and existing infrastructure for international diplomacy. Representatives from every nation sat alongside scientists, linguists, and military officials, all working to understand their new galactic neighbors. Commander Zareth and his delegation sat across from the human team, their 4 eyes taking in everything with calm curiosity. Advanced translation devices now allowed for smooth conversation between the species. "Our initial scans of your world detected abundant resources, but no technology. Zareth explained to the assembled humans. Our sensors are calibrated to detect quantum communication networks and fusion energy signatures, the standard markers of spacefaring civilizations. Dr. Susan Grant leaned forward. So our radio waves, combustion engines, and fission power were too primitive to register. Precisely, Jevnar confirmed. It would be like your scientists missing an insect colony while looking for large mammals. We deeply regret the oversight. Jack Reynolds had been invited to join the scientific exchange team due to his unique perspective. He studied the Vrekian star charts with amazement. How many other civilizations are out there? He asked. 47 known spacefaring species in this sector of the galaxy alone, Zareth replied. Some have existed for millions of your years. Others are newer than the Vrekian hegemony. The revelation sent murmurs through the human delegation. Humanity had wondered for centuries if they were alone in the universe. Now they knew they were merely late to join a crowded galactic community. President Carter met with his advisors each evening to review the day's discussions. Tonight, the mood was tense. They've offered to share medical technology that could eliminate cancer and extend human lifespan by decades, National Security Advisor Harris reported. But they're hesitant about providing propulsion technology. Can you blame them? General Martinez asked. We're still fighting wars over oil and religion. Would you give faster-than-light travel to a species that might export its conflicts to the stars? The president nodded thoughtfully. What about their request for a permanent embassy? The United Nations Security Council has approved it, Secretary Cooper replied. Construction will begin next month in international waters, 50 miles off the coast of New Zealand. Meanwhile, the Vrekian flagship maintained its position in orbit. Lieutenant Mevra monitored Earth's communications with growing concern. Commander, I'm detecting increased military chatter among several human nations, she reported to Zareth during their evening briefing. Some factions appear unhappy with the diplomatic approach. Zareth's expression remained neutral. Expected. Their species is divided into competitive tribes. Some will see us as an opportunity, others as a threat. Should we deploy defensive measures? No. Any show of force would only escalate tensions. Continue monitoring, but take no action. Back in Geneva, Jack Reynolds shared coffee with Captain Frost, both men still processing everything they'd learned. They visited over 300 worlds with intelligent life. Frost said quietly, some more advanced than Earth, many less so. We're somewhere in the middle. Jack nodded. It's humbling. All are human achievements, and we're just getting started compared to some of these civilizations. The Vrekians mentioned something interesting today. Frost continued. They believe every spacefaring species reaches a turning point, a moment when they either overcome their internal divisions or destroy themselves, and they think we're at that point. Frost stared into his coffee. They say our discovery of their presence might be the catalyst. Knowledge that we're not alone could unite humanity, or fracture us further. Outside the conference center, crowds gathered daily, holding signs with messages ranging from "Welcome Space Friends" to "Aliens Go Home." Media networks broadcast continuous coverage of humanity's first alien encounter. For better or worse, Earth would never be the same. The whisper in the dark had been answered, and the response had changed everything. 6 months after first contact, a small group stood on the observation deck of the newly completed International Space Collaboration Center. Through the massive windows, Earth curved blue and beautiful below them, while the first joint human-Vrekian research vessel prepared for its maiden voyage. Jack Reynolds pressed his hand against the glass, still amazed that he was actually in orbit. Behind him stood Captain Frost, now Admiral Frost, commander of Earth's expanding space fleet. I never thought I'd see something like this in my lifetime, Jack said quietly. Frost nodded. When the Defiance lost power that day, I was certain we were going to die. Instead, we opened the door to the stars. The ship they watched was unlike anything humanity had built before. Named Horizon, it combined Vrekian propulsion technology with human design elements. Its mission, a 3-month scientific expedition to Jupiter and its moons, with a mixed crew of humans and Freakians. The trial run before they let us go farther, Frost explained. Like parents watching teenagers with a new car, Jack laughed. Dr. Susan Grant joined them, tablet in hand. Final checks are complete. Horizon launches in 20 minutes. The past 6 months had transformed Earth in ways both subtle and profound. Vreekian medical technology had already begun to revolutionize human healthcare. Cancer treatments that once took months now took days. Injuries that would have been permanent could be fully healed. Political changes had been equally dramatic. Old conflicts seemed less important in the face of humanity's new place in the galaxy. The United Nations had evolved into the Earth Unified Council, with greater authority to represent the planet in interstellar matters. Not everyone welcomed these changes. Protest movements had formed, arguing that Earth was moving too quickly toward integration with alien cultures. Others feared becoming dependent on Vreekian technology. But most humans embraced the new relationship, hungry for knowledge of the wider universe. Commander Zareth entered the observation deck, his tall form drawing all eyes. 6 months among humans had changed him too. He moved with greater ease among them now, understanding their expressions and cultural references. Admiral Frost, Dr. Grant, Mr. Reynolds, he greeted them. An historic day. All thanks to a distress call, Frost replied. Zareth's 4 eyes blinked in sequence, something the humans now recognized as a sign of amusement. A whisper that changed 2 civilizations. The High Council never expected my routine survey mission to end like this. Are they still upset about the unplanned first contact? Jack asked. They have adjusted to the reality, Zareth replied diplomatically, especially since preliminary trade agreements have proven beneficial. On a nearby screen, President Carter addressed the people of Earth from the White House. His speech emphasized unity, progress, and the peaceful nature of humanity's first extraterrestrial relationship. 1 year ago, we believed we were alone in the universe, the president said. Today we stand as partners with the Vreekian people, taking our first steps into a larger community of space-faring civilizations. As the speech continued, activity around the horizon increased. The ship's engines glowed with soft blue light as final preparations completed. It's time, Dr. Grant announced. Horizon is ready for launch. The small group moved to the dedicated viewing area. Below them, the sleek vessel detached from its docking clamps. There was no dramatic blast of fire or rumble of conventional rockets. Instead, the ship simply began to move, accelerating smoothly away from the space station. Beautiful, Jack whispered. Commander Zareth stood beside him. This is just the beginning, Mr. Reynolds. There are wonders beyond your imagination waiting out there. And dangers too, I imagine, Frost added. Zareth nodded. Yes, but that is why new species are welcomed into the galactic community gradually. You will not face those challenges alone. As the horizon vanished into the distance, Earth continued its eternal rotation below. Humans went about their daily lives, many glancing up at the sky with new awareness. The universe had always been vast and filled with possibilities. Now, thanks to a desperate call for help heard by unexpected ears, humanity had taken its first real step into that universe. The whisper in the dark had been answered, and the conversation had only just begun.